Hello, I'm Soap, and today I'm going to be talking about my experience as an Aroace person because it's Pride Month. So I thought may as well just overshare about my sexuality. Also, I thought I may as well share my experiences because, when I was first realizing about myself that I was on the A spectrum, there wasn't many videos or people on YouTube or online in general Aroace or on the A spectrum at all. Obviously there's a lot more representation now, but I think a lot of people, they only found out what being Aroace was from Asian animations, and that's crazy because that was a few years ago. So I just thought it'd be nice to share my experiences to see if anyone had any similar experiences, because it is quite hard to, I guess, come to terms with it, but also discover that you're on the A spectrum, because it's not because you have to realize something's missing. I mean, that's the wrong way to say it, but you have to realize a lack of attraction rather than attraction. Say you're gay, you realize that you're attracted to women. You get what I'm saying anyways. Also, this whole time I'm probably going to be showing a video of me making some royal high outfits with the flags I personally choose to use. If you don't know what being asexual or being aromantic is, probably go look for another video to find out first, because I can't be bothered to explain it, because I mean it's different for everyone. The explanations I tried to come up with originally were just oh, no attraction. Well, that's not necessarily true because it is a spectrum. So just know that different people have varied amounts of sexual and romantic attraction, and on the lower end that's being asexual or aromantic, typically. I feel I'm definitely, me personally, I definitely think I lean towards demi-romantic, but I stray away from using those labels because it doesn't matter to me. I just say I'm aromantic because it is a spectrum, and I think it just stresses me out trying to put a label on things. Aroace is being both on the aromantic and asexual spectrum. So, like I said, how much sexual attraction you can have also varies, but tends to be on the lower end if you're asexual. And this could reference your desire to have sex. For me personally, it's how I perceive people. I don't, when I look at people, I can't think of them in a sexual way, and I don't find people sexually attractive. Say you're allosexual, and okay, so allosexual is just someone who's not asexual. Alloromantic is just someone who's not aromantic. And we've got these words because it's kind of equivalent to calling someone straight or cisgender. They're just not mainstream words, so that's why I'm talking about the definitions. But say you're allosexual. If you're watching this video, you're probably not, but you say, oh, I find that person hot, I don't feel the same way, but obviously I can see someone and tell I still have eyes, so I can tell if someone's attractive, I guess, but not, because sometimes people be like, oh, this guy's attractive, but I'm oh, so you're obviously sexually attracted to this guy because he looks ugly. But maybe that's the lesbian in me, guys. Right, so my identity, largely, I don't really like the word identity, because honestly it just sounds oh, I identify as rather than I am, because I just am, but it doesn't matter. I'd say that I'm an Aroace lesbian, which sounds crazy. You may think, how can you don't feel romantic attraction, you don't feel sexual attraction, so how can you still like women? Here's the thing, like I said, it's a spectrum. I feel pretty varied on the aromantic spectrum. I'm not comfortable talking about my sexual, I'm not comfortable talking about where I land on the asexual spectrum. I'm pretty sure I don't wanna do that, if I'm honest. But there are other types of attractions, obviously. There's aesthetic attraction, like I was talking about. You can see if someone's pretty and stuff. I can't remember any of the other ones. This isn't an educational video, this is just a rant. So if you want to learn the specific definitions, that was probably look for another video about my own experience. So now I'm going to probably get into the origins of how I found out I was queer. So to be honest, I don't actually remember what age I realised I was queer, because I knew I wasn't straight for a very long time, and from a very young age. Most of my siblings are also queer, so it was a bit jarring when we went back to school after lockdown, and there was straight people. That's a joke. I don't feel any certain way about straight people. Don't attack me, because you can be Aroace and straight. That's crazy. I think most people, when they hear Aroace, they think like completely Aroace, and that's what I thought I was for a while, but that doesn't matter. But anyways, I knew I was queer for like a long time, but then I never really thought where I landed on the spectrum. I thought I was bisexual even though I never liked men. I never even thought I liked men, except from in primary school, because I was young and stupid. And by the time I was 14, I identified as Aeroflux, which means that where you land on the aromantic spectrum, it fluctuates, which means it changes. I'm not sure if I still identify with that. I just call myself aromantic. Like I said, it's a spectrum. I don't really care for the individual labels for myself because it just doesn't matter to me that much. And it's a big hassle if you have like a niche like identity, because if someone asks you what your sexuality is, which is a bit inappropriate, but like if you say something like so niche, people are probably gonna judge you. Obviously, that's on them, but I'm too anxious for that, honestly. But by the time I was 14, I also identified as a demigirl. Currently I identify as non-binary. Similarly to how I feel about where I landed on the aromantic spectrum, it changed how I like identified like gender-wise. For a second, I thought I was like gender fluid, but like I said, gender is also kind of like construct. Like when I say I'm non-binary, I don't think I'm a third gender. People make it seem like a third gender, but it just means I don't fit with the binary. So I kind of use that as an umbrella term. So like it doesn't, even if my experience was more like a demigirl or like gender fluid, it doesn't really matter. But anyways, I'll probably talk about that in another video if someone wants to talk about my like gender journey, but like that's not what this is about. I might just talk about some anecdotes now. With being an Aroace lesbian, the lesbian part I've been going back and forth for like years up until this point, since I was like 14, I'm like almost 18 right now, so if you're thinking about it that hard, then you probably are both Aspec and lesbian, so yeah. I thought maybe I'm thinking what in the attraction to a woman, like what's going on here. Anyways, let's talk about personal anecdotes. I should have started with this, honestly, because it's the most interesting stuff, and maybe other people can relate to this. So obviously in primary school, I didn't know I was like queer until like probably year 6. Well, I mean, there was definitely clues, like I said, there's signs. I'm gonna say something shocking, like crazy, you might have never heard this before, but we're kind of conditioned to be heterosexual, to be straight. So when I was young, I thought I liked men. Actually, no, I didn't even think that, that's the thing. I have so many embarrassing memories, it just makes me want to cry when I think about it. Not like in a sad way, it's just embarrassing. Of like crushes. I'm saying I like inverted commas because I've never had a crush, because I don't feel that way about people generally, especially not men. So they will like on men, obviously, because like I said, heteronormativity. I'm not saying like my parents pushed that on me or anything, they're great. I mean society generally, there's kind of an assumption that everyone is like gonna be heterosexual. So basically I had crushes and it was really embarrassing. I did it, but how I realized I was kind of aromantic is that my crushes obviously weren't real, and I thought everyone else experienced the same thing. I thought we were all just making it up for the plot. Like I just thought no one liked each other like that way, and we were all just making it up. But no, it was just me. Because I do feel a bit bad because like I used to like kind of be friends with like a lot of the boys. Like not really. I didn't get along with many people in primary school. I was like bullied by literally everyone, but that's fine. That's like another thing that's like to do with my autism, honestly, which is another topic which I can talk about if you want, but not in this. This person I had a fake crush on. Like, you wouldn't act this way if you actually like someone. And I didn't actually feel anything for any of these people because, one, I was like really young, and two, I don't like men. I remember we were in like a pub garden, and there was this tire, and then people were like daring me to write that you love this person on the tire. So I did, and it just really embarrassed him, and it embarrassed me as well, but I don't know why I did that. Like, I always felt it necessary to tell people about my crushes, and oh wow, I have a crush. But, like, it was very performative, because obviously I didn't actually feel this way about people, so I kind of just said it to make a point. When I felt bad for having crushes, I'm kind of glad that I'll never be rejected, but I remember in primary school, I asked this guy out, and he rejected me. He said, "That's nice." And I didn't actually feel like upset about it. I was like, okay, which like that would be crushing if I genuinely liked him. I was like, it is a bit awkward because like I'm supposedly friends with these people, you know. But anyways, the signs of being aromantic is like just faking crushes, being kind of performative, doing it for the plot basically. I just thought it was funny, so that's why I wanted to share that. But when I think back at it, just like makes me kind of sad because it just kind of reminds me of like how heteronormative our society is and how it like. 'Cause if we didn't live in a heteronormative society, I wouldn't have had to like fake liking people to be like normal. Yeah, shocking information. Let's talk about signs of being gay. But like I said, I'm also like on the Aroace spectrum, so like I don't really yearn for a relationship, but the fact that I'm a lesbian is still like it's still noticeable to me. So like I think that's why it's worth it for me to actually say that I am, because I think that I'm purely Aroace. I mean, obviously I am purely Aroace, but like completely like no attraction at all is just, it's not very truthful, honestly. But I did think that I was like that for a while, but yeah. So yeah, signs that I was gay. What's it called? So we had like in primary school we had this like, I don't know what to call it, a path, put it the cycling track, I think. I don't remember, this was like years ago, honestly. Anyways, with my best friend, we used to just hold hands and walk around, and then there was this guy. Like I said, we were bullied. It wasn't a very fun experience, but like I don't really care anymore. So this guy was behind us, and he was like shouting gay at us, and we were like, actually, if we were gay, we'd be lesbians. Which like now I don't really care. Like it's the same thing, but we thought we were woke. I don't know. And to be fair, I didn't really know much about like, you know how like some people say, oh, they're teaching gay to the kids. When I was young, I didn't really know anything. I didn't know like Aroace people existed in primary school, obviously. And to be fair, when I met up with her again, like my best friend at the time, it turned out that we both were queer. She turned out to be pansexual, I turned out to be Aroace, which like obviously that's not, I mean I didn't know I was like lesbian back then, but like queer people just tend to gravitate towards each other. I just kind of found that from living life. And that made me think, like, some people say that asexual people aren't part of the LGBTQ, which, like, that's just wrong. They're like, oh, because you face no discrimination, but, like, I haven't, well, that's not true. I'm gonna talk about the discrimination I faced. That's because I haven't faced any outright, like, you know, like, I know it's not great to be gay. Also, that's assuming that the asexual person isn't also, like, trans or gay, because obviously you can still experience that when you're asexual. Like, there's not, like, outright, it's not like outright hatred or anything, but like it kind of does emphasize the struggles that's not the right word, but the struggles you already face, like being a woman, for example. Say someone comes up to you at a bar, a man, most likely, and starts harassing you, and you say, I'm not interested because I'm asexual. A lot of people experienced men saying, I'll fix you. Like, this is what a lot of lesbians face as well, when someone says they're asexual or lesbian. So yeah, it kind of, like, it doesn't normally show up on its own, because no one really knows much about the Aspec to, like, be directly, I mean, like, very violently against ace people, but, like, it still exists, obviously not to the same extent, and people, like, but also, like, being the LGBTQ isn't, like, what's it called? It isn't about who gets discriminated against most, because then we could just throw out a bunch of white cis gay men out, because some of them are not cool, quite frankly. Some of them need their gay passes revoked. I mean, like, the racist and misogynistic ones. Like, obviously some people will face more discrimination than others. Like, yeah. I wouldn't say it's equivalent, like, I haven't faced, like, people still, like, I tell them and they're like, oh, because they generally don't know what it is, and they still see it as queer, which is seen as weird by, like, a lot of people, because, yeah. And also, for men, I think, I'm talking this in a very binary way, I'm non-binary, obviously. I don't know how to say it otherwise, but for men, I think a lot of people just, like, for being asexual in men, there's there's kind of like a stereotype that men are like overly sexual, but actually we're all like that. Women are just looked down upon for experiencing like sexual desires, I guess, which is why people, like, asexual men will be like told they're not like real men and stuff. But like I said, this is all kind of linked to misogyny and the patriarchy. So like, it's not about being asexual per se, but like it kind of emphasizes the discrimination or like the hardships you face for being like a woman or being a queer man, quite frankly. Saying that ace people don't experience discrimination at all is just like not true. Also, I heard that I think this must be in America surely, but they only stopped making asexuality a mental condition in 2013. You know how crazy that is? And in the past, obviously, there's an expectation for women to get married, have children, and that doesn't accommodate to ace people, obviously, because they have to have sex, they have to, and aromantic people, they have to get married. Basically, being a woman, not good. Being asexual on top of that, and aromantic, not great. Probably going to a psych ward. It's just kind of stupid to say that asexual people don't face discrimination. I'm glad that people can't tell I'm asexual. Like, when you're gay and you have a partner, people can tell you are gay. Like, and they can outwardly discriminate you for that. And I'm so glad that I don't, like, appear to be queer in any sort of way, because I don't want to face discrimination. I guess that's kind of their point. And like I said, it's not like a whole discrimination competition. Like, I don't get the point of trying to exclude people from the LGBT. I don't know, very gatekeepy. But okay, I remember talking to this person. They're also queer at the time. We don't really get along. They're kind of weird now. But at the time, I guess we're acquaintances. Okay, for context, we're in year 8, so I'm like 12 years old. I say I'm asexual, and they said something like, "Oh, you mean aromantic because no one this age feels sexual attraction," or something along those lines. Because at the time I identified as asexual, then I started labeling myself as aromantic instead. So 12-year-old me was like, oh, I guess I wouldn't be able to tell if I'm asexual because no one feels that way about anyone at this age, which isn't true. I know people who did things at like 12 years old, which don't do that. Like, please wait until you're at least a bit more older. Like, don't feel pressured to do anything you don't want to do. But yeah, that was the first amount of like bit of pushback I got for being like ace. I didn't see it as like discrimination or anything. I don't see it like that now either, but I just think it's a bit odd to say that to someone, honestly. To tell someone what their sexuality is, like, it's none of your business. But yeah, by year 8, I definitely started knowing that I was aromantic. Before I thought I was bisexual, and it's very common that Aroace people thought they were bisexual before, just because you're like, oh, I feel the same amount of attraction for both men and women. None at all. But for me, I always preferred women, and I, like, attraction-wise. But I was like, no, I'm not a lesbian, because real lesbians exist. Like, I don't know what that means. Like, real people exist. That's how I felt about a lot of things. That's how I, like, internalize things. I realize that's just, like, imposter syndrome, and I, in fact, am a real person. So, I do experience things. Like, what? Bisexual to Aroace pipeline is just so real. Lots of people have gone through it. But this reminds me, this is also in year 8. I guess I was having a lot of, like, my 12-year-old self was going through, like, a lot of questioning, I guess. So there's these 2 people that I used to walk to school and walk home with. Both girls, by the way. We were having a conversation, and I don't know how this came up, but I said something along the lines, I think I like women, like, well, I probably said I like girls, because I was 12. I was like, I think I like girls, like, slightly more than friends, like, just a little bit, like, slightly more than friends, which I do stand by that. That was such, like, Aroace lesbian coded, because it was never, like, I fully felt romantic attraction for, like, a woman, because I never, like, felt, like, a full, like, crush, really, but it was, like, I definitely feel things for women that I don't feel for men. Like, I find it really hard to find men aesthetically attractive, because they're generally not, obviously, but there are attractive men. If you're a man watching this, sorry. But, like, anyways, I never really saw the signs. I was like, oh, that after, but I still thought, wow, I'm just Aroace. I don't feel attractive for anyone, but I still said, oh, I like women a little bit more than friends, and they were both like, oh, no, we like women like friend level. I'm like, oh. But I didn't clock that. Obviously, these were straight people. Anyways, fast forward to year 9. At this point, I'm pretty sure I know I'm Aroace. Yeah, at the beginning of year 9, we're starting to collect all the gay people, but that hasn't happened yet. And I have this friend who, at the time, we both played Royal High. And actually, at the time, I think we'd say we were best friends. I still know her. She doesn't play Royal High anymore, but we used to be best friends, and we both liked Royal High. But anyways, at this point, I knew I was Aroace, and I was out about it. Like, all my siblings knew, all my close friends knew. My parents didn't know, but I guess I'll talk about my coming out at a certain point. It's nothing shocking, honestly. But she would be constantly confused about it, which, honestly, that's fine. Like, as an ally, like, not sure if she was an ally, honestly, but like, it's fine to be confused about things if you haven't heard about them before. But I constantly had to remind her what it was about, so, which to me, it doesn't seem that complicated to me, honestly, but I guess if you feel both, like, sexual and romantic attraction, it's hard to distinguish between the two, and hard to imagine not feeling that way, but, like, she would just ask what it meant, like, so, since I'm Aroace, it's kind of 2 things, so I'd say, oh, asexuality is, for me, I would be like, not feeling any sexual attraction. That's very simplified, but that's why I'd say, because if someone doesn't understand, I just kind of simplify it as much as possible. Like, it's for the cishet people to understand, you have to dumb it down a bit, and I'd be like, and I'm also aromantic, so that means I don't feel any romantic attraction. Not true, but like I said, dumbing it down. And she'd be like, wait, which one are you? You feel both? Anyways, I think that's when I started to realise that being at Aroace was confusing, like hard to understand for people. I really thought it was more like normalised than it was to be queer at the time, because I don't know why. I think it's probably because this was right after lockdown. Anyways, I never thought it was like something hard to comprehend being Aroace. But anyways, eventually I remember this other thing. Like, when I said I'm not sure if he's an ally, this is why. In the library there used to be like rainbow flags, like rainbow bunting around the room, which like it's not a big deal, and she said it made her feel uncomfortable, which like, what? At this point in time, this is before like it's a big friend group, before the gay people, but I'm hanging out with my siblings at this point in time because they've just joined the school, and like I said, we're all gay, so we're all like, no, we're all queer, so we're all like, we call her out for it, we're like, that's low-key kind of homophobic. And then she's like, no, I think we should have some Black Lives Matter flags in there, and we all said, yeah. Then we said, yeah, that would be nice as well. But what's that got to do with the pride flag? But it was made into a much bigger thing than it was. I don't understand how you could be uncomfortable with the rainbow flag. It wasn't even like progress flag or anything. It's not giving out live, but whatever. And also she used to go on about how our old friend group was the weird gay friend group and stuff, and that she was glad that she hung out with us. We weren't really friends for that long, just because like there was kind of this mentality of like kicking people out of our friend group weirdly around like my sister, who's the same age as me because we're twins and stuff, but that's like completely unrelated. But now looking back at it, she probably is a little bit homophobic, not gonna lie, but like she was like my best friend at the time because we both like Royal High. But yeah, a warning, a little bit of discrimination, and disclaimer, the person I'm talking about not like this anymore, I'm pretty sure. I don't know if she still feels this way. Anyways, I used to walk to school every day, so I'd walk with my twin sister, because in my family there's two sets of twins, it's me and my twin, and my younger two siblings who are 2 school years below us, who are also twins, so we kind of walked in sets of twins. I mean, typically I'd walk with my bestie. They've been on this channel before, like in the past, but I call them my bestie, but they're my youngest sibling, but like I said, we're all twins, we're all very close in age and stuff. But I think it must have been walking home, probably, if it was just the two of us. Not that any of that matters, but anyways, I don't know how this came up, but she was like, you're not asexual. I'm like, what? But she said, you haven't slept with both genders, so how would you know? What? One, both genders? What the hell? What the helly? Slept with people, like, bro, I'm 13. The hell? And you could say the same for straight people, how'd you know? And let me explain that to you. You can't tell you're sexually attracted to someone by sleeping with them. You can tell because you're not, or you are. Like, you look at someone, you find them sexually attractive, or you don't. Like, what? It's that simple. Like, feeling attraction is different to doing the action. Because it's a common misconception that asexual people don't have sex. I personally don't want to do that, but a lot of people do. Some people are in relationships with allosexual people, and some asexual people are in relationships with each other and do it anyways for funsies, because it's not like your like reproduction, it's not like you suddenly don't feel anything down there. A bit rude, but like, you know. Anyways, that was crazy, and I used to like not like her for a long time. I don't think she feels the same way anymore, but like she was low-key kind of like not good. We get along really well now, but like I wasn't like mentally doing well, and it didn't feel good that someone was like hating on my sexuality, quite frankly. And it was kind of worse, and at this time, I'm making us sound like a really bad person, but like, we've grown since then, I guess. Well, kind of. We used to also like misgender our sibling all the time. So it was kind of a rough time, honestly. Because this kind of caused a divide between us, because like I said, most of my siblings are queer, so like, we didn't stand for it, quite frankly. We didn't stand for it. She felt like a victim, because we were all against her, but like, don't be a prick. But now I'm thinking about it, a lot of things happened in year 9. Okay, by year 10, there's probably like 12 of us. All queer. Well, not all, but... And honestly, I don't remember how that happened. But yeah. At that point in time, I had an Aroace badge because I knew I was Aroace, and I kind of wanted to let people know. Because it's not like a sexuality you kind of that people can like tell by like looking at you or who you're in a relationship with, because they just think you're alone. They don't think, oh, maybe that's because of your sexuality. I wanted people to know that the reason I didn't have a relationship wasn't because I didn't have game, it was because that was my choice. Also, like, generally I wanted like other people, like Aroace people, to be like, oh, just to know like that other people, like, we exist. But like, obviously there's kind of welcomed a lot of questioning about it because it was quite obvious. A lot of my viewers are like American, so I might have to preface this. We wear uniform in the UK typically, so it kind of did stand out quite a lot because it was like on my blazer, which is grey. So like, I genuinely had like teachers coming up to me and asking what that meant, which is a bit inappropriate, but like, I wanted people to ask, I think, but it was a bit jarring. And yeah, it was kind of funny because they like pretend to understand. So I remember, well, the teacher came up to me, like, people would come up to me and ask me what it meant, and then I'd have to explain it, and then he'd act confused, which I never thought it was that complicated, but like I said, we've already talked about that. And like, lots of students came up to me as well. I remember this one person came up to me, we're now friends, but at the time we weren't really close at all, and asked what it meant. I described it to her and she said, fair enough, which, like, that's meant to sound like supportive, but it kind of just sounds like, do you think I'm choosing it just to be like for fun? Choosing it makes it sound like I'm choosing to be Aroace just because I don't want to date people, which like isn't true. Like, sometimes I get sad, I'm like not like everyone else, and I can't like be in relationships with like I mean I could if I wanted to, but I just feel like that'd be dishonest considering the amount of attraction I feel. But like, I don't know, we're all kind of, like I said, heteronormativity existed, we're all kind of brought up to, because like, especially young girls, like, because I'm non-binary, but like I was brought up as a girl. My parents didn't push anything on me, like anything. I actually really like to play with like typically girly stuff. I still do that for high. That's why I say typically, because like obviously it's for everyone. Like, gender isn't like what you play with, but whatever. Like I said, that's another video. But like, we're kind of brought up to want to have kids, want to get married, like playing with baby dolls and stuff. I mean, I typically used to be their teacher rather than their mother, which like foreshadowing to not having children, because I obviously don't want to do that, because I don't want to be with someone, so why would I have children? And also, why would I get married if I don't really like anyone like that? So, like, it kind of does feel like I'm missing out on, like, it kind of seems like there's kind of a life plan that everyone's meant to follow. I'm not sure if like boys were like raised like this, but it was kind of like, okay, you meet someone, you get married, you get a job, you meet someone, you get married, you have children, and that's kind of a given for everyone, when that's obviously not true. Like, oh, my point is, like, a lot of aromantic people still have the desire to fit in, to conform to like societal norms. I'm not choosing to be aromantic because I don't like people. It's just how I was born, quite frankly. But like, this person, she didn't mean it in like any like sort of way. Like, it was meant to be supportive, but like, I thought I'd clear up some misconceptions. I mean, in like year 10, year 9, 11, and 11, I can't remember the exact years, but like, what I was talking about earlier, what my like sister said about being asexual, about how I couldn't tell because I hadn't slept with people, which is obviously stupid. I kind of internalized that because I wasn't doing very well mentally for like quite a long time, especially because like I had this like crazy victim complex, because like I was bullied by literally, I'm not even kidding, everyone in my primary school, except for my best friend, obviously, and I didn't know why. And for some reason I thought it's because people could tell. Then looking back, it's like, oh, they can tell I'm different how, which like now that like I kind of know that I'm autistic, it's like pretty obvious now. But I kind of like, I wasn't doing well mentally, and I kind of blamed it on my sexuality. I was like, oh, I'm gonna be alone. And I kind of like, instead of thinking, oh, this is an internal issue that I should come to terms with, I kind of like thought I was a victim. Like, because obviously what my sister said to me was wrong and discriminatory. I kind of thought like the whole world was against me and that everyone hated me because I was Aroace, when no one could actually tell that I was in fact Aroace. I just had issues with it myself. Which like, there are times which I'm like, which I'm gonna be honest about. Obviously I can't imagine being like any other sexuality, honestly, because like, imagine like being straight, that's crazy. That's scary. Like, I don't want to like men, no thanks. Like, obviously it'd be easier to do that societally, but like I said, as an autistic person, I kind of don't crave to, like, I want it to be normal so hard, but like, there's like, even if I tried, people can still tell I'm different, so like, what's the point? Like, I thought I was masking really good, but I wasn't. So people thought I was weird, but I thought that was because they knew who, like, my sexuality, so I was, like, scared and stuff. I started to hate myself about it, but it's not. Like I said, being Aroace, the pressure, the difficulties normally come, like, internally. Because you have to come to terms with that, the fact that you can't live the white picket fence dream and all that, and you won't be in. You think you won't have any fulfilling relationships, which isn't true because friends exist, family exist, and queer platonic relationships exist. When I found out that queer platonic relationships, or quasi-platonic, I like to say queer platonic, but relationships exist, I was like so relieved. So like I won't be alone, which like I wasn't alone anyways. So like I said, like if you're Aroace and you're watching this, which there's a high chance that you are, like you're perfect the way you are. Like there are other fulfilling relationships other than being in romantic or sexual ones. You can still do that if you want to, just like be clear about your boundaries and stuff. But like I said, at this point in time, anyone would say anything, I'll take it as a personal attack against my identity, when it wasn't like that. I was just having issues mentally. Because I think of a specific example, like my sibling said to me, "Oh, you're like an NPC," and I started crying. Stereotypes of being like a robot, like having no emotions, not liking people generally. Which, like, to be fair, I was a bit antisocial, and I don't mean that in like a bad behaviour, I just mean like socially awkward, I guess. But like, that is a stereotype. It's a harmful one. There's really loud asexual people and stuff. But, like, I saw that as an attack on my sexuality when, quite frankly, it had nothing to do with that. It just had to do with my personality, which, like, not nice either, but like it wasn't an attack on anything. I just wasn't going. Like I said, I just felt very vulnerable at that time. Like I said, I had a victim complex for being like bullied a lot, and like, I could tell people were treating me different to how they treated other people, which now that I look back is because of my autism, but like it just caused me issues. So I mean, if anyone relates to that, I hope that was helpful to anyone. Like at least someone that like you're fine. And I kind of wanted to share my like own experiences because I wanted people to know that like it's fine to be Aroace, like it's fine to have issues with it. Like we're kind of told that we're meant to be like, yay, I'm so glad that I don't have attraction to everyone, like all the memes are like that. I don't really look at them anymore, but like it's like, I'm not like all the other people who feel sexual attraction. Just like to be fair, at some points it's like you do feel like above people. Like I can't believe you feel sexual attraction, you peasant. I've never actually felt like that, but it's like kind of funny to think like that, to like look at people's relationships from an outside lens, because that does feel like, but that is like downsides to it. So I just want people to know that it's normal to feel like, not feel like proud of their sexuality all the time. It did take me a while to come to terms with it. I was fine with being Aroace at first until I realized being queer wasn't easy, and that it isn't the norm. It kind of hit me hard when I realised that. Like in year 10 and 11, like a lot of our friends had broken off from us because lunch started not being with like my other siblings who were younger than me. So there was a lot less of like the queer people. Still, everyone on my table, like half of us were trans. The only like non-queer person on our table was my sister, but still I was a lot more quieter then. So next experience, asexual wise, is the third time I went to South Africa, because I went once when I was a baby, I don't remember that. Once when I was 7, I kind of remember that. Once when I was 15, I think. Can't actually remember the year. And once as a 17-year-old. Well, anyways, I was 15 at this point in time, and I'm with my South African cousin. We're having a sleepover at my cousin's house. Not this cousin, but my other cousin's house. Doesn't matter. But anyways, we're kind of like ranting about stuff and about being queer and stuff. It was kind of awkward seeing our cousins after 7 years, but once I found out that he was queer, I was like, oh, we got along like a lot better. I was like, here's my flag, what's your flag? And he drew my flag. It was kind of cute at the time. He's a bit of a prick now. But anyways, we were having a good conversation, and he was like, oh, one of my friends used to be asexual. Like, this person doesn't identify as asexual anymore, but they used to, like, I can't get demonetized because I'm not monetized. How do I say this, like, politely? They used to touch themselves. They probably still do. I don't know why I said used to. So how can they be asexual? And I was like, bruh, asexual people still, like, do you think that there's suddenly, like, no feeling down there at all? Like, I understand no desire to do that. Like, obviously asexual people still touch themselves. Like, bro, what? Some people may not. I personally don't, because I I personally don't, because like I find that freaky, but like there's nothing wrong with that. I think women, ladies, non-binary people, stop being ashamed. Like, how come it's normalized that men do that all the time but women don't, when they obviously do. But anyways, like, I thought that was crazy. I was like, how does that make you not asexual? Anyways, this person turned out not to be asexual, but I just wanted to say it's a misconception that, like, asexual people don't do that. But I was like, asexual people can even have sex if they want to. So, and then he was like, oh yeah, I kind of understand that. But, like, it's kind of crazy how little people understand when it's quite easy to understand. But maybe that's just me because I experience this way of life. Fast forward to sixth form, nothing really crazy happens, honestly. Most of like the identity things that happen are like gender-wise, because I'm pretty like solid on my sexuality and stuff. But I've got to say, like, all your friends getting boyfriends is kind of crazy. And then like you realise, wow, it's not something that I'm particularly jealous of, because I don't want to be in that type of relationship, and I definitely don't want to be in that type of relationship with a man. But in sixth form, you're like kind of at that age where everyone's like not starting to do stuff, they already have. And there is a lot of pressure and expectation for people to like have sex and stuff, which I think you don't feel pressured to do anything until you feel ready to. I don't personally feel that pressure because I don't want to do that, and I've known that I'm asexual for a long time, so like just want to put that out there. Like, nothing like big happens in these years. I'm a bit more quiet about my like identity because I don't want people to think I'm weird or anything. Actually, let's go back to year 9. This is before GCSEs, I forgot about this. But basically, there's this person, they're racist, we don't like them. So, I'm not justifying what these people are doing, but there's a group of boys, and because this person is racist, they call them the F slur, which, like, let's not battle slurs with slurs. And then I kind of look a bit horrified. I'm like, what did I just hear? And then they look at you and I'm like, oh, forgot you were there, which, like, I never clocked that people thought I was, like, queer. Because I wore like a badge which no one probably knew what was on the badge, because when everyone said, oh, what does that badge mean, like, it's not a common one. Most people don't know what the Aroace badge looked like, especially not like 4 years ago. I never really clocked that people would think that I'm like queer or gay, which, like, to be fair, I am, but like also, like, even if there wasn't a queer person in the room, you shouldn't say homophobic slurs, the hell. But anyways, present day, I don't find much of a problem with being Aroace. I'm saying that I came to terms with it. I didn't really have issues until people made it an issue, and then I internalized everything. But I don't find an issue with it now. Anyways, I almost forgot, so coming out story, kind of. Like, I have come out multiple times, I think. Like, I don't know, it isn't really a big thing how you'd think it. The name makes it sound a lot bigger, but like, I always knew that my parents would accept me because, I don't know, they're nice people, and like, my parents are such cuties. Because, like, we're all out to our parents, like, in this day and age, in present day, which is nice. So I think it must have been in year 9 maybe, or year 10, I had the badge. Some guy's mom, who actually happened to be the guy I used to pretend to have a crush on in primary school, so that's just like really embarrassing. I had such a problem with that because we went to secondary school together, and I thought, what if he thinks I like him, or actually liked him, because I didn't, which was a bit mortifying for me. But anyways, his mom asked me what that is, so I'm just like, I couldn't think of an excuse. I didn't say anything for like a few minutes, which, like, I probably should. I thought, oh, I should have hid it, which, like, why am I ashamed? But like, why would I tell this random woman what my sexuality is? I don't think I ended up telling her, because my parents came, but then when I was at home, my parents were like, oh, what was that about? So then I kind of just said I'm aromantic, asexual, and they're like, what's the difference between the obviously, and like I said, my parents were really nice people, so they accepted me, obviously, but they were generally confused about the difference between being aromantic and asexual, which is so crazy to me, because since I feel like almost no sexual attraction and a little bit of romantic attraction, I can tell the difference between the two. But if you're allosexual and alloromantic, then they probably feel combined, which is crazy. And I also came out again when I was 16. That was for being non-binary. When I was in year 10, my sibling got a girlfriend. They're still together now. But at the time, it was the beginning of their relationship. And I'm very close to my siblings because we're close in age. But anyways, I'm like friends. At the time and now, obviously, I'm very close with my sibling's girlfriend. We're like friends. So she tells her mom about my asexuality, which, like, I don't care at the time. I'm pretty like out and about. And then her mom says that I was too young to know that I was asexual at the ripe age of like 15, like 14. Like, people know they're straight Why is it different for, like, queer people? And she didn't feel the same way about her child being gay. Like, what the hell? It's because it's about sex, like, oh, children shouldn't be having sex, but it's nothing to do with that. I just don't feel that way. Like, so many people get so triggered when people talk about asexuality as if it's a sexual topic. Like, actually, it's the opposite. Like, I didn't say I don't want to have sex, I said I don't feel sexually attracted to people. And guess what? 4 years later, still asexual. So, fuck you. I don't actually feel that way about, her mum, but still, like, crazy thing to say about someone you don't know. Also, in year 8, so this was shortly after lockdown ended for me, we used to have to walk to a sports centre because our school wasn't fully built yet to do PE. But anyways, because it was like a 10-minute, 15-minute journey, you have to like come up with things to talk about, pretty much. This was on our way back from PE, so we were all like exhausted and we have to go back to school after that to do clubs. Because for some reason, we had to do a club 4 days except from one. Stayed to school for 8 hours. For what? The clubs were awful. But anyways, at this time I thought I was bisexual. I think I must have been out about it, and they were like, okay, if you're bisexual, tell us a girl you have a crush on. And I was like, okay, this person, who, like, I found attractive, I guess, but, like, I didn't have a crush on her. It's like, what do you mean prove you're bisexual? That's literally biphobic, the hell? And it came from, well, people who, at the time, it was my sister again. She thought she was bisexual at the time. She's come out straight, and we accept her. Like, none of us there were bisexual, but it is low-key biphobic. Like, say a girl you find attractive. What? Like, name a woman. Like, why didn't they ask me a boy I had a crush on? It would have been a lot harder for me to think of one of those. Actually, now I think about it, my sister would have known that I didn't have a few boys I pretended to have a crush on, so, like, I guess it's assumed that I'm straight as default, which, like, guys. Anyways, that person, who I said I had a crush on, later became a friend, which was a bit crazy, honestly. We're not friends anymore, a bit of a pick-me, honestly. I keep wanting to talk about these people like, used to know them, don't like them now. I sound like a toxic person, I'm generally not. Like, I'm not the... When people leave a group, not my call, honestly. But anyways, we were close. And, like, she kind of used to, like, flirt with everyone. And then she'd be like, oh, we should go on a date. Like, but in a romantic, respectful way. Which, like, I found funny. I was like, okay. I probably had a thing for her, not gonna lie. But, like, I don't want to talk about that. Because I don't really like her anymore. She's really draining. Like, she's really annoying now. Oh, and another thing. I remember at the table, so... this guy who, like, sometimes sits with us, obviously everyone here is queer, he's like, okay, so for some reason we were talking about, they were talking about teachers they've had, like, who they find, like, attractive. So, like, he asked me, who do you find attractive? I was like, oh, I'm asexual, because instead of saying I'm Aroace, I say I'm asexual, because that's easier for people to understand, because when you say you're asexual to, like, typically when you say you're asexual to a person, if they don't know anything, like, less knowledgeable people assume that means you're both aro and ace, which I am, so I just say that. But then he's like, oh, but you still feel aesthetic attraction, surely? And I'm like, oh, he's got knowledge. I was like, I don't know, but I do feel aesthetic attraction. I just thought it was weird to talk about teachers like that, because it is. But anyways, thank you for listening to me oversharing about my sexuality. You know when people say it's none of anyone's business about your sexuality, they only say that to queer people, because as an Aroace person, I can tell you, straight people make it the whole business. Actually, in fact, allosexual, that's including gay and straight people, make it everyone's business that their relationship. That relationships are the norm. Like, you're gonna get married, you're gonna have children. Like, who's shoving it in whose face? Like, what? Anyways, happy Pride Month. I hope this was helpful to anyone who's questioning, or just, like, I think it's nice to hear, like, other people's similar experiences. I wonder if anyone else had similar, like, any, like, other Aroace people, or, like, the A-spectrum people have any, like, experiences. Please share them in the comments if you're comfortable with doing that. You can also ask any questions, because, like, I kind of, like, overshared a bunch, so there's more to share, I guess. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe.